Ye, and I can't stress this enough. Haw. Oh, hello everyone. I have my sugar t-shirt on. I have my cowboy earrings ready to go. I have a friendship bracelet that someone made me and gave to me at Book Bonanza. My Cowboy Daddy's bracelet down here, and I am ready to go because we are talking about if there's one area in this book world that I feel like I am an expert in or working my way towards that goal, it's cowboy romances. I was asked a while ago if I have a full video dedicated to cowboy romance recommendations, and I didn't, but now I am finally doing one today. I am so excited. I have well over 20 books to talk to you guys about today, and I kind of want you guys to look at this as like a guide to cowboy romance. This genre has obviously, especially last year, really just blew up, and so many authors are, writing small town romances, but, adding a cowboy in there. But there really is so much more to this genre, and there's so many different levels levels to cowboy romances because they are not all created equal. I think I've read a pretty good amount of books that would fall on the spectrum of cowboy romances, based off different subgenres that they fall into, ones that are way more contemporary, very light on the yeehaw vibes, and then definitely ones that just are super, super spicy, not your mother's cowboy romances. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about all of the ones that I've read today and kind of break it down for you. And then you can see which of these books, falls best to what is interesting to you. So I think that's enough for this intro. Let's just get right on into all of the cowboy romances that I have. Okay, so the first stack of books here are the books that I would say are very good, entry level cowboy romances. If you haven't picked up a cowboy romance yet, these are the ones that I would start for. And again, these, even in this area, have various levels of how country yeehaw they are. Some of them are, again, very, very light, and then some of them have a little bit more. So where do we even start? Okay, the one that I have on the top here is actually a book that I love very, very much by one of my all-time favorite authors, and that is Tie Me Down by Melanie Harlow. This is actually one of Melanie's, I think maybe her only cowboy romance. And again, I say cowboy because it is on the lighter side. Our main guy in this book, is this book Beckett? Yes. Beckett does own a family ranch or a family farm, something like that. And this is book 4 in her oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. Bellamy Creek series. There we go. I love this series so much. This is book 4 in her Bellamy Creek series, which is a series of connected standalones. All of these guys are friends. They all play baseball with each other. Every single book in this series is fabulous. It's obviously it's small town vibes all across the board. So this book is a small town, but the main guy, again, is a cowboy. This is a second chance, friends to lovers. Listen, in my opinion, I definitely would, I have no problem classifying this as a cowboy romance because there is a scene in a barn with rope, which happens in a lot of cowboy romances, and that is one of my favorite things to see. Okay, it's so hot. It's so hot. And I think you should totally start the Bellamy Creek series by Melanie Harlow. Then you'll get to this book, which is a cowboy romance. Again, you can read it as a standalone if you want, but I love this series so much. Definitely just read all 4 of them. They're so fun. Next up are my 2 babies, the 2 loves of my life. These books, I think, again, are very, very good beginner cowboy romances because they're quick reads. They are well-paced. They're so entertaining. I personally love them. They are some of my favorite books of all time, and that is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, but then also I have read the arc for Swift and Saddled, which is literally out in March. So I'm so sorry to recommend you this book a month before it comes out, but it's close. It comes out in early March, people. This one is a brother's best friend, forbidden romance. She's a barrel racer. So not only is she, involved in something, cowgirl Yeehaw. He also trains, no, he doesn't. He teaches kids how to like ride horses, and he quite literally teaches Emmy how to get back on a horse after she has an accident. And I just love this book so much. I've talked about it multiple times on my page. Just know it's one of my favorite books of all time. Swift and Saddled is Wes and Ada. Wes is Emmy's brother. She has two brothers from book one. And let me tell you, like this book, Cowboy Yeehaw. Wes is my cowboy of my dreams. Like he's wearing his chaps. He is working on the family ranch. He is working on Rebel Blue Ranch. I was telling Lila, I was like, the cowboy vibes in this book, immaculate, but they're both steamy and fun, and there's such beautiful romances, and I highly encourage you to absolutely check out Lila Sage if you haven't yet. Okay, I barely made it how many books into the video and my camera died. And the thing is, I was like, oh, I should charge my camera battery. I'm filming a video today. And then I was like, no, it's fine. And then my camera died. So if the lighting looks a little different or, you know, anything looks a smidge different, it's because it's sometime later while the battery charged. But anyways, next book. Moving right along. This book is extremely popular, and this is the only book, again, similar to the Melanie Harlow book, in this series of connected standalones that is, I would say, you know, a cowboy romance. And that is Indigo Ridge by Devoney Perry. This is a special edition that I have of it. Sorry, it's just the one that I could grab. But this is the first book in her Edens series. While the whole Eden family like have a family ranch, Griffin, the main guy in this book, is the only one who's actually like a rancher, a cowboy. All of his other siblings have different careers. This is just a true small town romance series, but again, this first book does have those cowboy elements. So again, I think this is a great book for beginners. It has like an element of like romantic, like a little bit of suspense in it as well, because it's Griffin, and I believe her name is, what is it, Winnie? They have like kind of a one night stand, and then they get reunited because I don't know if she's a sheriff in town. She definitely has something to do with law enforcement. And again, there's like a case going on. So there is, again, that element of like suspense. I remember the suspense in this book actually really well. I really enjoy this book a lot. I'm like 2 books behind in finishing the Eden series. But again, this is a small town romance series to its core. But this first book, you do get a little bit of cowboy. I mean, this special edition cover literally is a guy on a horse. So I do consider this to be a cowboy romance, but again, it's very light on the cowboy, so I think it's a great one for beginners. A book that I love with every fiber of my soul, that anytime I can talk about this book, I'm gonna scream it, I'm gonna scream about it, I'm gonna shove it in your face. This was on my best books of 2023. It was literally in like my top 5. I love this book that much, and that is Saddle Up Cowboy by Sade Renee. This is incredible. This book is definitely, compared to the other books that I read, we have a main guy who is a little bit more on the yeehaw scale. He is a true cowboy. Like, this book is just, if you like a Southern gentleman, those cowboy vibes, this is the book for you. This book is perfect. This book is about Renee and Parker, where Renee is new in town. She's like freshly divorced, I think. I don't know if she's getting out of her like a relationship or if she's getting out of like a marriage. I can't remember. But either way, she's in this town and she has this house that she bought that she needs to renovate, and Parker, being the guy that he is, does help her with the house renovations. But similar to Indigo Ridge, they actually have a one-night stand. But the thing is that one-night stand doesn't go well because our main guy, Parker, is actually a virgin. And Renee is not, she's not like turned off by the fact that he's a virgin, even though she is a little bit older than him. So it is an age gap where she's the older one. But, you know, it just doesn't really go down well the first time they try to do anything. And then they get reunited because he is, I think, related to like her best friend's husband or something. Like, he's friends with, it's just like they're mutual friends. It's like something like that. Like, you know what I'm talking about. And their first date scene alone is incredible. He like buys her own cowboy hat. I can't even talk about it. Parker works on a ranch, and I love it so much. I don't care where you are in the cowboy romance world, where you are in your cowboy romance journey. Just read this book because it's one of my all-time favorites. Please, 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 please. I don't even need to talk about these books for too long because I know you've probably already read them. And I know you probably love them, but I feel like if I didn't include them in here, people would yell at me and be like, where are the Elsie Silver books? Obviously, I understand, okay? I love Elsie Silver. I have been reading the Chestnut Spring series since Heartless was coming out, and I literally begged Elsie for an arc of it. I love Elsie Silver so, so much. She's one of my favorite authors. She's one of my favorite people. You can watch my interview with Elsie on my YouTube. It's in my live section. She's, again, such a star. I'm so happy for her and her success. She has really mastered writing, you know, some cowboy themed books in her small town series and just having it appeal to the masses and people just becoming obsessed. Like it's really crazy. As an FYI, the Chestnut Spring series as a whole is not a full cowboy romance series. These are the only 3 books out of the 5 that I would say are cowboy. The other 2 are just small town. Elsie even says, you know, to her core, she is a small town romance author, but she does have, you know, some books that obviously are cowboy and pull cowboy. These would definitely be my number 1 like beginner recommendations because you get Elsie's sensational writing with these characters that you just become obsessed with. This world that is, you know, it's a series of interconnected standalones. Totally just read them in order. First book is flawless. I feel like you just can't go wrong. You'll become addicted. I don't think I've seen a single person like read this series and not be obsessed with it. So this is definitely the ding, 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 ding. I've never read a cowboy book. Where do I start? You start with Flawless by Elsie Silver. One more that is more on the very light cowboy side that I would definitely recommend for beginners is Rootbound by Tara DeWitt. This book is about a girl going back to her hometown. She's a famous photographer, and there she meets, what are their names? I know the main girl is, yeah, it's Tate, and then what's the girl's name? Henry. Yeah, so Henry's family ranch also was like famous because I think it's also part of like a TV show, which was really fun. Like this book definitely had a whole bunch in it that I've never read before in a small town romance. I love the idea of our girl like just going back to her roots. That's why it's called Rootbound. Henry, you know, is a cowboy to his core because, you know, he does work on the family ranch and, you know, stuff with the family ranch. Again, it's not so aggressively yeehaw, like it's very light on the cowboy vibes, but I know Tara herself would describe this, you know, as a cowboy romance. She'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot that I actually wrote a cowboy. And Henry is so delicious. He's really, really sweet. I mean, I love a man written by Tara DeWitt. And this book was really fun. I listened to it on audio. I had a great time. So if you want to read something, you know, about a woman, you know, finding herself. Also, the main character is going through, again, I can't remember if it's a bad breakup or a bad divorce. We have a theme going on here. But yeah, if you just want a sweet small town romance, again, with light cowboy vibes, but just spectacular writing because it's a Tara DeWitt book, you can do Rootbound. Another great beginner one that I feel like if you like Elsie Silver, you like Lila Sage, you'll probably really enjoy Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton. Kat Singleton does have this small town romance series. This, I believe, is the only book in the series that is classified as like cowboy. Book 2, I don't think is really cowboy, but I haven't read it yet. But Rewrite Our Story is great. This is a second chance romance. It flashes back to the past and the present. There was very good spice in this book. I loved it on audio. Again, you get that small town vibe. You get that really romance heavy, you know, spice heavy book with, again, some cowboy vibes. Another scene, my favorite, of doing maybe spicy things in a bar, which I loved. I thought it was really fun. I actually got these earrings that I'm wearing from Kat Singleton in the PR box for this book. And I definitely think, again, if you're a well-seasoned romance reader and you want something with some cowboy vibes, you'll really enjoy this one. Another one that is a little bit more on the forbidden side and is for my spicy romance gals who want a cowboy in there. How about A Cowboy Daddy, where it's literally her ex-boyfriend's dad? That is Here With Me by Brooke Montgomery. This book was really fun. If I was to describe this book in one word, I would say it's really fun. I loved that the main guy guy. Again, so many one night stands, so many people hooking up in the beginning of books, and then they find their way back to each other. This girl has a hookup with a man at like some rodeo event, I don't know, and a great night, and turns out that man is actually her ex's father. So there's tea, and then that guy ends up working on her family ranch. And this book is very like horse heavy, which I really appreciated because our main girl like rides horses, like shows horses, does stuff with that. And the guy is someone who like, he's called a farrer. So he also helps like clean like the hooves and like just take care of the horses, tend to the horses. So this book is very, very horse heavy, but I actually would say it is a good book for beginners. Like if you have read just, if you like spicy contemporary romances, and again, you want something with more yeehaw vibes, this is a great, great choice. It was very fun, again, and very spicy. There's very good spice in here. Then we have some two books that I think are like underrated gems. The first one I'm going to talk about is Rein Me In by Kayla Gross. I really love this book. It now has an audiobook, which is great. You can listen to the audiobook on Hoopla, and this book also has really strong yeehaw vibes. I wasn't expecting it. I don't know why, even though it's clearly like a cowboy romance, like it's called Rein Me In. I don't know why I wasn't expecting it to maybe be as like cowboy, like horse heavy as it was, but it definitely is. This is another book about a girl going back to her small town, but this book also actually has a lot more like emotion in it than I was expecting. I really didn't know much about this book when I went into it for the first time. Other than that, I really like Kayla as a person. She's such a sweet author pal. Yeah, this book, because the main girl is recovering from a death in her family, but actually so is the main guy. It is technically like a brother's, you know, best friend kind of romance. You know, they grew up in town with each other. They do know each other very well, but again, they're both working through just dark things in their past. Again, our main character, especially, same thing with horses, because the accident that took her family member had to do with like an accident, I believe, while they were horseback riding. So again, it is getting over that trauma. There's definitely a lot of themes of like grief in this book. But with that, it does also balance it out with being just a fun and steamy small town romance with a really protective, sexy main guy. And it was very, very good. I thought this book was very well written. We do have a curvy female MC in this book as well, which is really great. And I do think this book, again, is very underrated for it being, I thought, very well done. So again, if you've read a couple of the books that I've mentioned so far in the video and you haven't gotten to this one yet, I would totally add it to your list. When It Burns by Holly Lucky is my super little like hidden gem book that I am just obsessed with. I love this book. I think about this book all the time. This is Holly's debut novel, and I think for a debut novel, she did so, so well. This is going to be the first book in a series of connected standalones. I can't wait for book 2. So this book is about a teacher and a grumpy fireman. So they definitely don't start off on the right foot at all. But this book was just so fun because I loved how small town it was. It kind of reminded me of Friday Night Lights as well a little bit with those vibes, because the main girl, not only is she a teacher, she also is like a cheerleading coach. But then the main guy comes in because not only is he a fireman who also just bought like this ranch, he also is like an assistant football coach. I really love the element of like cheerleading and football. The small town vibes in this book were so, so real. There is like, again, a smidge of cowboy in this one, again, because the main guy like has a ranch. Her other friend has like a farm or ranch, and there's like fun stuff with animals, but it's not like the most, I would say, again, like aggressively cowboy book on this list, though I do think this is another really good beginner one to start off with. But I just really loved it. It was a quick read for me. I thought it was so well paced. It was so entertaining. I'm really invested, like I said, in these characters. I can't wait for book 2, and it's so underrated, so please at least add it to your TBR. And the cover is so cute and pink. And again, Holly is lovely, lovely, lovely. She's so sweet. I've talked to her a bunch of times. She's wonderful. So I really hope this book just like takes off even more because it was so good. Kind of similar to Indigo Ridge, we have Fractured Sky by Catherine Cowles, which instead of being like the first book in a series, this is actually the last book in her Tattered and Torn series, which is a series of connected standalones. I would read it in order because especially the main girl, Shiloh, in this book, she is like mentioned in book one, but then you finally wait to get to her story at the end. And our girl Shiloh has definitely been through a lot of traumatic things in her life. She was kidnapped when she was younger by like this crazy cult. And again, that ties into book one, which is her brother and a girl who is related to the people in the cult that took her. And then again, it's a couple books before you get to her story, which is last. And Catherine Cowles is a romantic suspense author. So you do get that, you know, small town element with romantic suspense. Ramsey works on a ranch that has to do with like animal rehabilitation, I think particularly like horses. So this book is very, very horse heavy. So Ramsey works with horses, Shiloh loves animals, and this book was really beautiful. Like the way they connected over, you know, darkness in their past, and also the way they connected with animals. Like Catherine loves to put animals in all of her books, but obviously I loved the emphasis on horses in this book. I love Ramsey and Shiloh. This book is just really pretty. Like I want to reread the series so badly. And like particularly this book. I would say this book and book three are maybe my favorites in the Tattered and Torn series, but overall I think the whole series is sensational. It's a small town romantic suspense, but again, this one you do have that cowboy, you know, lead guy because he works with horses, and it's just this book is great, and I love the cover of the People cover. It's so beautiful. Okay, switching gears now. If you've already read all of these, you know, contemporary cowboy romances and you want something a little different that is a period piece, you can do My Babies. If you know, you know. Kit McBride Gets a Wife and Marrying Off Morgan McBride by Amy Berry. Listen, I trust your opinions on cowboy books if you've read these books and you love them. These are just comfy, cozy historical westerns with amazing characters that I am so obsessed with. Truly some of my comfort books, some of my Roman Empire books. I am waiting until we get more books in the series. It is a series, you know, of connected standalones. We have one brother here, another brother here in the McBride family. This first book is like a mail order bride situation, and then the second book has a woman come in who people are like, oh, it's too late for her to get married, etc., etc. But they both, you know, end up marrying their McBride brothers, and they're just, they're too good. Now, they may not be for everyone because I understand not everyone likes historical westerns. Like this book in particular is a closed door romance. So while I personally find it really romantic and sweet, like there's literally caretaking in here, like he takes care of her after she gets injured, because it's low spice, it may not be for everyone. This book actually pumps up the spice a little bit, which I think is really fun. I see you, Amy Berry. But I just know, like, again, they won't be for everyone. I would say if you read a lot of trad pub romance, totally give them a try. But like if you're used to reading like Elsie Silver, etc., you're not really going to get those vibes here. But if you do just love like a Western setting like me, maybe you can enjoy these because they're some of my favorite books ever. I'll scream from the rooftops that you should check them out. The audiobooks were really good, and I love them. Cowboy romance excellence, in my opinion. They are divine. For an author who I want to shout out that I have read only one book by her, but like I know if you want like kinky, spicy cowboys, you pick up a book by Lorelei James. So the only book that I've read from her so far is called Corralled, and this book was this book was delicious. I listened to this book on audio, and knowing nothing about this author, I was like, oh, is this how all of her books are? This book is actually 2 guys, 1 girl, but she does actually end up picking someone in the end to be with. But I know Lorelei has like Why Choose books in her backlist, and I just think this is for the people who have read the Elsie Silvers, the Done and Dusteds, and you want to get even spicier. You want to really just pump it up a notch, you can go for Lorelei James. Okay, and then finally, the last books we're going to talk about are for my darker romance gals. So if you are a dark romance person and you would like a dark romance with cowboy vibes, these are for you. The first book I'm going to recommend is definitely not as dark as the other series that I'm going to mention, but we do have Broken Vow by Sophie Lark. So this is a mafia cowboy book because our main girl is part of a mafia family and she needs a bodyguard. So it's Riona. Is that how you say it? I always forget how to say it. It's Riona and Ryland is a cowboy bodyguard. He's like a friend, I think, of one of her brothers. The whole family, they have their books. This is part of the Brutal Birthright series of Sophie Lark. Again, can it be read as a standalone? Yes. Is it slightly more fun to read the series in order? Yes. Brutal Birthright is one of my favorite mafia series, one of my favorite series ever. I love them so, so much. And this book is just fabulous. It's so fun, has really good action in here. I love the bodyguard element. I love the forced proximity element because he ends up taking her to his small town for protection. And this book is delicious. I love it so much. So if you're a mafia person, but you also want a cowboy thrown in there, this is a great book. Actually, the last books I'm going to talk about are my all-time favorite cowboy books, I would say, next to like Heartless by Elsie Silver, but this series means so much to me. I have a beautiful special edition of all 3 books in one, so it's 3 books, and that is the Trails of Sin series by my dark romance queen, Pam Godwin, and those books are knotted, buckled, and booted, and these books are, they have my heart forever. I'm obsessed. I read them now in 2022 and I really need to do a reread. I read like Knotted physically and then I read the other 2 on audio. Great audiobooks, or they fly by really nicely again if you read them like on your Kindle or anything. First book, Knotted, is free for your Kindle. It's always free. So if you go to Amazon, you'll be able to get the ebook for free. And I just like would be lost without the series. These characters mean so much to me. It is a series, again, of each book is a different couple. There is a plot that flows into every single one of these books. So again, I wouldn't recommend reading them as standalones, even though technically they do all end like no cliffhanger HEA. But just the plot that goes throughout all 3 books is too good. Like it's too good. And I would definitely recommend reading them in order. I don't even know what's my favorite one in the series because this is one of those situations where I'm just like the whole series is my favorite. Sometimes I say it's Knotted. Sometimes I'm like, oh, but I really loved Buckled. I guess if I had to pick one, I would say Knotted. But every book is my favorite in this trilogy. Definitely check your trigger warnings for this book as well. It's very intense. Like the opening of Knotted is about one of our characters, you know, getting assaulted, and that is literally something that ties in to especially book 1. The events of this really tragic night that Knotted opens with flow throughout all of the books. There's a whole bunch of action in here. Really, really great spice. I mean, if it's Pam Godwin, it's going to be a beautiful mix of sensational writing, really good spice, action, and darkness, just all told in a beautiful way. For my dark romance people who want a kiss of cowboy in there, this is the series for you. Definitely a lot of, you know, fun cowboy action. They, again, live on a big family ranch and a lot to do with horses and just, ooh, it's too good. See, again, talking about this series, I feel like I need to reread them right now. All right, everybody, so that was it. That was my little guide to cowboy romance with a whole bunch of book recommendations for you. I hope you found this video helpful. I really did. I hope you got some good inspo. There's definitely some hidden gem books on here that I think deserve more love. If you have any more cowboy romance books that you love, definitely drop them down below. If you didn't see your favorite in this video, it's probably because I haven't read it yet. So I'm excited to read even more cowboys in 2024. So if you like this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It means the world to me. Share this video. Let me know if you're watching it. And yeah, I think that is all for this video. Enjoy all the yeehaw books, my friends, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!